Hello there, it's Sarah from Paper Lovely. Thanks for joining me today. I have got part 1 of my 10 cards 1 kit using the Simon Says Stamp November 2019 card kit. And I'm going to actually do this video in 3 parts this time. These first 3 cards are going to be featuring some of the pattern paper as well as the stamp set. In the next video, I will have some watercolor panels for you, and then in the third and final video, I'll make some cards using that reindeer die that was included. So jumping in here to card number 1, I have trimmed out a Nina panel to 3 3/4 by 5 inches. And I'm going to stamp out those trees in the background. I used some Simon Says Stamp Barely Beige ink. I wanted to create a really subtle card. All 3 of these cards have a more subtle look to them. And here I'm also going to stamp out all of these little critters. I'm using some Hero Arts Cup of Joe Pretty Brown ink. And then I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut all of these out. So there you can see I've got the deer laid out there, I've got my trees in the background, and I'm going to stamp out this sentiment, "You're one of a kind, so incredibly thankful for you, love you." And I'm using some Lawn Fawn Peachy Keen ink. Once I had this stamped, it was a little bit too dark for what I wanted. So I'm going to pull in a piece of Paper Tray Ink Sweet Blush cardstock, and this measures just about 2 inches. I'm going to re-stamp that using the same ink over top of that strip, and that just gives me a little bit more of a subtle look. Then, because I was adding the strip down, you weren't going to be able to see the trees I had previously stamped, so I've added 2 more in on either side, and you will actually only end up seeing one of them. The strip covers everything on that left-hand side of the panel. But again, I'm using that Barely Beige ink, and I am stamping that 3 times so I get a nice clear image, because even though it looks somewhat dark as I'm stamping that, it's going to fade in and it gives this really nice, almost cream color on the background there, very subtle. So I have added some ATG to the back of my panel, and I'll place that here on top of one of the green card bases. Then for my pink strip here, I'm going to add some foam tape to give that a little bit of dimension. I'll peel away the backing here and place that down on top of the card base. And then I'll add a little bit of art glitter glue behind my deer and place him down as well. Wanted to give him a little bit more pop while still keeping things somewhat subtle, so I did pull in my Nouveau shimmer pen here, and I'm going to run that all over the top of the deer. For the inside, I'm again on a Nina panel trimmed to 3 3/4 by 5 inches. I'm going to stamp out the sentiment "Love You" using that Peachy Keen ink. I'll add some ATG to the back and place that on the inside of my card base. And that will complete card number 1. Here for card number 2, I have trimmed out this green dot pattern paper to 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm going to use some ATG to place that down on top of one of the white card bases. I've also got a strip of this wood grain pattern paper, and this measures about 1 3/4 inches. I'll again add some ATG and place that along the bottom of my card base. Go ahead and trim out that excess. I have 3 more of these characters here that I have again stamped out with that Cup of Joe ink and fussy cut. And I'm going to get all of those popped up with some foam tape. I did use a mix of my 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, and 1/8 inch just to get behind all of the little places, the ears and the tail and legs and things like that. I'll go ahead here and peel away the backing on my bear and get him placed down in the center. And then I will add the other critters on either side. And then I'll place down this heart in my bear's hands here in the center. This heart is trimmed out with the medium-sized heart that comes in the Blueprints 32 frame die from MFT. And I trimmed that out from Paper Dry Ink Berry Sorbet. I'm also going to stamp my hello sentiment on top of that berry sorbet, and I've trimmed that to about 1/2 inch wide, and I'll pop that up here with some foam tape. Peel away that backing and place that down as well. For the inside, I'm on a Neenah panel trimmed to 4 by 5 1/4. I'll use that same cup of joe to stamp out Love You. Then I trimmed off another piece of that berry sorbet at about 1/2 inch to match that front strip. And here I've added some 1/4 inch Scor-Tape along the bottom of my card panel here. I thought I would save myself a little bit of tape by doing it this way so I don't have the extra left over on my cardstock, and that did work out pretty well. I'll trim off the excess here, add some ATG to the back, and place that down on the inside of my card. And that will complete card number 2. For card number 3, I'm going to do a little no line coloring. So I have trimmed out from the Neenah Desert Storm cardstock a panel that measures 3 3/4 by 5 inches. I'm going to create again along the back a row of these trees, and I'm stamping them out using the Simon Says Stamp Barely Beige ink. Again, I'm going to stamp these 3 or 4 times to get a really nice dark color, because I know that as this sits, it's going to fade. Along the bottom there, I also added 2 of the little floral sprigs that were in the stamp set. And then I'm also going to stamp out the bunny on a scrap piece of this Neenah Desert Storm. I have grabbed from my stash a banner die. I really wanted to use that Welcome Baby sentiment, but I was having trouble getting the fussy cut to look the way that I wanted it to. So I just grabbed a die from my stash. It is from a Spellbinders kit, and I will link it below for you. And there I stamped out that Welcome Baby sentiment, again using that Hero Arts Cup of Joe ink. I did color everything off camera just for the sake of time, but I will list on my blog post all of the Prismacolors that I used. I've added some ATG to the back of my panel and placed that on top of one of the white card bases. And here I'm going to add some foam tape to pop up the bunny as well as this banner sentiment. I'll go ahead and place down the banner first. And then place down my bunny, making sure he's right in the center of that banner. For the inside, I'm again on a Neenah panel, trimmed to 3 3/4 by 5 inches. I'm going to use that Love You sentiment one more time, stamping that out with the Cup of Joe ink. And then I've got a piece of the matching blue from that front banner, which is from MFT's Snow Cone cardstock. I've trimmed that to a larger panel. This is about 1.25 inches wide, and I'll place that along the bottom of my panel. Add some ATG to the back and place that on the inside of my card base. And that will complete card number 3. Here are a few close-ups of the finished cards. In the description box below, you'll find my blog post, which has additional photos and links to the supplies I used. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me a comment or a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.